Shalom. I hope that you're doing well today and that you have a big smile on your face. But if your day hasn't been so good, I do hope that it gets better. Let's remember to keep those in our prayers that are in the path of the hurricane for their safety and well-being. I have a study that I'm going to share with you today on Shimshon and Delilah, Sampson and Delilah. The reason I started studying this over the past few days is because a few nights back I had this dream. It's a crazy dream. Anyways, the dream was it was me and my son, and we were getting ready to board a flight, or we were getting ready to take a trip, and I knew that we were going to board a flight. My grandparents were there, and in real life my grandparents are deceased. They were there, and my son went with them, so they went ahead of me. And then I had to come to this holding room, and there was no one else in it. Everyone else had went through to go wait for the flight in the next room. So I'm sitting here in this room, which looks really weird, but this man comes up this escalator, and he's cleaning up behind what people left, like trash and stuff laying on the ground. And I'm trying to zip my bag up, and it's like I can't get it zipped up, right? I'm trying to get like this one last thing in there zipped up. And anyways, he comes up and he hands me this picture and asks if it's mine. And it was a picture of a woman that had just gave birth, and she had a mask on her face. Well, I knew it wasn't mine, my picture, but for whatever reason I said, well, I told him, I says, well, you can tell that this isn't mine because my son is older, and according to this mask, this woman recently had this baby since she's wearing a mask and the mandates and everything. So he took the picture somewhere else. Well, it's time for me to go into the next room to go through the clearance, and I walk in the next room, and it's like the flight had taken off already and everybody was gone out of the room. So just like that, when I go to sit down, everybody else is there. It's like I don't know where they came from, but they're on the next flight, and it's a lot of weird people. So I still have my bags, but then I have these two t-shirts, and these t-shirts had stuff written on them, like in Sharpie, and it had like yard sale, and it had numbers and stuff on it. And then all of a sudden this girl stands up and she starts singing, and she goes, they call my name Delilah, Lila, Lila, and she was dressed in all black. And I was like, this is so strange. So that's all I remember from that dream. So when I woke up, I'm like, all right, so I'm going to study the story of Sampson and Delilah. So that's why I'm sharing this with you today. And my disclaimer is, as always, I am not a teacher. I am a student of the Almighty, of the greatest teacher. And I'm just sharing my studies with you as a tool, as an encouragement for you to study for yourself. I'm not trying to persuade anyone to think a certain way or anything like that. That's why we let him and his spirit lead us, right? The more time we spend with him, the more we learn, and the wisdom and the understanding. So get started with Delilah. The word Delilah is spelled in Hebrew, or Ibri, Dalet, Lamed, Yod, Dalet, Hey. It's Strong's H1807. And the definition given is languid or feeble. So languid means to lose, lack vitality, grow weak, suffer from being forced to remain in an unpleasant situation. I've also seen that it's pronounced Layla, which means night. Okay, so Shimshon, which is Samson, his name means sunshine, related to the sun Shemesh. Also, we know that he was a Nazarite, okay, which means a consecrated one. And we know that from reading the previous chapters of Judges, before Judges 16. We don't have a whole lot of the story, but where Manoah and his wife were visited by the messenger, and they were told that they were going to have a son, and that he was going to be a Nazarite, and there were certain things that the mother couldn't do as far as like drinking any wine or eating any unclean food because the child had been consecrated to Yahweh. So we're going to get started in Shopatim, which is Judges chapter 16, 1 through 2. Shimshon went to Azza. Azza is what we also know as Gaza. The Strong's number is 5804. Azza means the strong. Okay, if you Google the word itself, Azza, the first thing that comes up is that it's a Muslim name that means a young female gazelle. So Shimshon went to Azza and saw a woman there, a whore, and went into her. Verse 2, the Azathites. All right, so I'm going to take a pause right there. The Azathites, an inhabitant of Azza, of the Azza the Strong, is also found in the book of Yehoshua, which is Joshua 13:3, where it says the land that remains from Shihor, which means black or dark, which is in front of Mitzrayim, which is defenses or Egypt, and up to the border of Ekron, which means uprooted. Northward are considered as Canaanites, which means merchant or traders. The 5 princes of the Palestines, the sojourners, the Azathites, the strong, the Ashdodites, the ravagers, the Eshkelonites, the weighing places, the Gittites of Gath or winepress, and the Ekronites, the uprooted ones. Also the Awites, which means overthrowing. Okay, so we're going to continue to verse 2. The Azathites, saying, Shimshon has come here. So they went round and lay in wait for him all night at the gate of the city, and kept silent all night, saying, in the morning, when it is daylight, then we shall kill him. Now, let's go through scripture with the word for Delilah. Judges 16:4. And it came to be afterward that he loved a woman in the Wadi, Sorek. A wadi is a valley or a ravine that stays dry except in the rainy season. Sorek means choice vine, whose name was Delilah. Okay, we know that her name could be feeble or night. And verse 6, and Delilah said to Shimshon, please reveal to me where your great strength lies, and by what you might be bound, to humble you. Verse 10, and Delilah said to Shimshon, look, you have mocked me and spoken lies to me. Now please reveal to me by what you might be bound. Verse 12, and Delilah took new ropes and bound him with them, and said to him, the Palestinites, the sojourners, are upon you, Shimshon. And those lying in wait were sitting in the inner room. But he broke them off his arms like a thread. So Delilah said to Shimshon, until now you have mocked me and spoken lies to me. Reveal to me how you might be bound. And he said to her, if you weave the seven locks of my head with the web. And Delilah saw that he had made known to her all his heart. And she sent and called for the princes of the Palestinites, the sojourners. So we learned who they were in Yehoshua, back in Joshua, saying, come up once more, for he has made known to me all his heart. So the princes of the Palestinites came up to her and brought the silver in their hand. So right there, that part of that story reminds me of Judas Iscariot. Delilah comes from the root word Dalal, which is spelled Dalit Lamed Lamed, which is Strong's 1809. That means to bring low, to dry up, be emptied, be not equal, fill, be impoverished, be made thin, to slacken, or to feeble. Shopatim, Judges 6:6. This is when the children of Yasharel did evil in the eyes of Yahweh. Thus, Yasharel, which means overcoming with ill, was brought very low because of Midian, which means contention or striving. And the children of Yasharel cried out to Yahweh, Yeshayahu, Isaiah 17:4. And in that day it shall be that the esteem of Jacob, which is the hill holder or supplanter, wanes, and the fatness of flesh grows lean. Isaiah 19:6. And the river shall stink, and the stream shall be weak and dried up. Reeds and rushes shall wither. 38:14. Like a swallow or a thrush, so I chattered, and I moaned like a dove. My eyes look weakly on high. O Yahweh, I am oppressed. Undertake for me. Tehillim, Psalm 79:8. Do not remember against us the wickedness of the fathers. Let your compassion speedily meet us, for we have been greatly weakened. Psalm 116:6. Yahweh guards the simple. I was brought low, but he saved me. Psalm 142:6. Listen to my cry, for I am brought very low. Deliver me from my persecutors, for they are too strong for me. Mishlei, Proverbs 26:7. The legs of the lame hang limp, so is a proverb in the mouth of fools. Job 28:4. He opens a shaft far away from people. They are forgotten by feet. They hang far away from men. They swing to and fro. I read fast because when you put these verses together in order, it sounds like a hidden message that has been revealed. The word dalal that we just went through scripture for is compared to the word dala, which is spelled Dalet Lamed, which is Strong's 1802, and that means to lift up, to properly dangle, to let down a bucket for drawing out water. In Shemoth, Exodus 2:19, and they said, a Mizrite rescued us from the hand of the shepherds, and he also drew enough water for us, and watered the flock. Psalm 30, verse 1, I exalt you, O Yahweh, for you have drawn me up, and have not let my enemies rejoice over me. Proverbs 20, verse 5, counsel in the heart of man is like a deep water, but a man of understanding draws it up. Now, going back to what we read in Judges, when Shimshon went to Azza, we know it as Gaza, a city in Southwest Asia in the Gaza Strip. It's a narrow coastal area along the Mediterranean Sea, adjoining Israel, said to be where the tribe of Dan inhabited, and Egypt. Territory was part of the British Mandate for Palestine in 1920 through 1948. It was passed to Egypt in 1949. It was occupied by Israel in 1967. Palestine autonomy was promised in 1979. Israeli-Egyptian peace treaty and limited autonomy was granted in a 1993 Israeli-Palestinian accord. The city of Azza, or what we know as Gaza, was one of 5 major Philistine kingdoms. Remember, we read about the 5 princes in Judges 16. Azza, I went to that next to see what the definition in the scripture was for that. So Azza, Strong's number 5804. Genesis, which is Bereshith 10:19. And the border of the Canaanites, which is merchants or traders, was from Sidon, hunting or fishing, as you go toward Gerar, which is towing, as far as Azza, the strong, as you go towards Sodom, which means burning, and Amorah, a heap or ruin, and Admah, which means of the ground or reddish, and Seboim, which means gazelles, as far as Lasha, a fissure or spring, in Zebarim, which is Deuteronomy 2:23, and the Awim, which means overthrowing, who dwelt in villages as far as Azza, strong, the Kaphtorim, which means crowns, who came from the Kaphtor, which means wreath or crown, destroyed them and dwelt in their place. Yehoshua, Joshua 10:41, and Yehoshua, which means Yahweh delivers, smote them from Kadesh Barnea, which means Kodesh, place of wandering, or set apart place of wandering, as far as Azza, the strong, and all the land of Goshen, in Egyptian that is origin of Goshen, and that means drawing near, even as far as Gibeon, which means hill city. Yehoshua, Joshua 11:22. There were none of the Anakim. The Anakim, they're of Anak, which means necklace or collar. Left in the land of the children of Yasharel, only in Azza, in Gath, the winepress, in Ashdod, the ravager, some remained. Yehoshua, Joshua 15:47. Ashdod, the ravager, its towns and its villages, Azza, the strong, its towns and its villages, as far as the Wadi of Mitzrayim, which is defenses or Egypt, and the great sea with its coastline. Shophatim, Judges 1:18. This is after the death of Yehoshua, after Joshua. And Yahudah, which means Yahweh be praised, captured Azza and its border, and Ashkelon, which means weight and balance, and its border, and Ekron, which is uprooted, and its border. Judges 6:4. And encamp against them and destroy the increase of the land as far as Azza, and leave no food in Yasharel, neither sheep nor ox nor donkey. Judges 16:1. And Shimshon, Sampson, went to Azza and saw a woman there, a whore, and went into her. Verse 21. So the Palestinites took him and put out his eyes and brought him down to Azza and bound him with bronze shackles, and he became a grinder in the prison. First Samuel 6:17. When we think about Samuel, he was also a Nazarite, a consecrated one, when Hannah prayed for a child, right? And then she gave him back to Yahweh. And these are gold tumors, which the Palestinites returned as a guilt offering to Yahweh. One for Ashdod, which means ravager, one for Azza, which means the strong, one for Ashkelon, the weight and balance, one for Gath, which is wine press, one for Ekron. So those are the 5 princes. Melachim, 1 Kings 4:24. For he is Shelomo, or what we know as Solomon, was ruling over all the side of the river from Tifshah, which means passage or Passover, even to Azza, over all the sovereigns on this side of the river. And he had peace on all sides round about him. 2 Kings 18:8. This is where Hezekiah reigns. He smote the Palestinites as far as Azza and its borders, from the watchtower to the walled city. Yirmiyahu, which is Jeremiah 25:20, and all the mixed multitude and all the sovereigns of the land of Uz, which means council, and all the sovereigns of the land of the Palestinites, even Ashkelon, the weight and balance, and Azza, the strong, and Ekron, uprooted, and the remnant of Ashdod, the ravager. Jeremiah 47:1, the word of Yahweh that came to Yirmiyahu, the Nabi, the prophet, concerning the Palestinites before Pharaoh. Pharaoh means great house. Smote Azza, the strong. Verse 5. Well, actually, verse 5, baldness. It starts out with baldness, so then that takes me back to the Nazarite vow, right? Because no razors to come upon the hair or the scalp. But so mentioning baldness here sounds like the Nazarite vow being completed. Baldness shall come upon Azza. Ashkelon shall be cut off with the remnant of their valley. Till when would you cut yourself? Amos 1:6-7. Thus said Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Azza, and for 4 I do not turn it back. So I'll pause right here, because it made me think of Delilah. She asked Shimshon his secret 3 times, and he told her something totally different, right? But after much nagging, he told her on that 4th time. So, for 4, I do not turn it back, because they took into exile, an entire exile, to surrender it to Edom, which means red or earthy. But I shall send fire upon the wall of Azza, and it shall consume its palaces. Zephaniah 2:4. For Azza is abandoned, and Ashkelon laid waste. Ashdod is driven out at noonday, and Ekron is uprooted. Zechariah, which is Zechariah 9:5. Ashkelon sees it and fears it. Azza too, writhing in anguish, and Ekron uprooted. For her expectation has dried up, and the sovereign shall perish from Azza, and Ashkelon shall not be inhabited. Debris Hayamim, which is 1 Chronicles 7:28. And their possessions and dwelling places were Beth El, which means house of El, or Almighty, and its towns to the east Aran, which means young, and to the west Gezer, which means portion, and its towns, and Shechem, which means shoulder or back, and its towns, and as far as Ayah, which means heap or ruin, and its towns. Now, Azza, that we just read the scripture for, comes from the root word as, and that is like AZ. That is strong. Sorry, I had a moment. 5794. That means strong, mighty, fierce. So we'll take a look at Bereshith, Genesis 49:3. Reuben. Okay, Reuben means behold a son. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my power, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of exaltation, and the excellency of power. Verse 7. Cursed be their displeasure, for it's fierce, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I divide them in Jacob, and scatter them in Yasharel. Shemoth, which is Exodus 14:21. And Moshe, okay, Moshe means brought forth or drawn out. Moshe stretched out his hand over the sea, and Yahweh caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea into dry land, and the waters were divided. Be Midbar, which is Numbers 13:28. If you go back a few verses in verse 20, it says, you shall be strong and bring some of the fruit of the land. Now is the time, was the season of the first fruits of grapes. So that's another thing that we think of with the Nazarite vow. You're not to drink any wine or anything of the grapevine, right? Just gotta persevere. But the people who dwell in the land are strong, and the cities are walled, very great. And we saw the descendants of Anak, which means necklace or collar, there too. Numbers 21:24. And Yasharel smote him with the edge of the sword, and took possession of his land for Arnon, the Arnon, which is roaring or stream, to the Yabuk, which is pouring forth as a river, as far as the children of Ammon, which is people or tribe, for the border of the children of Ammon was strong. Zebarim, which is Deuteronomy 28:50, a fierce-looking nation which shows no regard for the elderly, nor show favor to the young. Judges 14:14. And he, Shimshon, said to them, out of the eater came forth food, and out of the strong came forth sweetness. And for 3 days, they were unable to explain the riddle. Verse 18. And the men of the city said to him on the seventh day, before the sun went down, which would have been Shabbat, what is sweeter than honey, and what is stronger than a lion? And he said to them, if you had not plowed with my heifer, you would have not solved my riddle. 2 Samuel 22:18. He delivered me from my strong enemy, from those hating me, for they were stronger than I. Yeshayahu 19:4. And I shall deliver the Mizrites into the hand of a cruel master and a fierce sovereign to rule over them, declare the Adon Yahweh of hosts. Isaiah 25:3. Therefore a strong people praise you, the city of powerful nations revere you. 26:1. In that day this song is sung on the land of Yehudah. We have a strong city, he appoints deliverance, walls and ramparts. 43:16. Thus said Yahweh, who makes a way in the sea and a path through the mighty waters. 56:11. And the dogs have a strong appetite, they never have enough, and they are shepherds. They have not known understanding. All of them look to their own way, everyone for his own gain, from his own end. Ezekiel 7:24. And I shall bring the evil ones of the Gentiles, and they shall possess their houses, and I shall cause the pride of the strong to cease, and their mikdashim, which is their set-apart places, shall be destroyed. Daniel 8:23. And in the latter time of the rule, when the transgressors have filled up their measure, a sovereign, fierce of face, and skilled at intrigue shall stand up. Amos 5:9. Who is flashing forth destruction upon the strong, so that the destruction comes upon the stronghold. Psalm 18:17. He delivered me from my strong enemy and from those hating me, for they were stronger than I. Psalm 59:3. For look, they have lain in wait for my life. Mighty men assemble against me, for no transgression or sin of mine. O Yahweh. Proverbs 18:23. The poor speaks beseechingly, but the rich answers fiercely. Proverbs 21:14. A gift in secret subdues displeasure, and a bribe in the bosom, strong wrath. 30:25. The ants are a people not strong, yet they prepare their food in the summer. Shir Hasharim, which is Song of Solomon 8:6. Put me as a seal upon your heart, as a seal upon your arm. For love is as strong as death, jealousy as cruel as the grave. Its flames are flames of fire, a flame of Yah. Nehemiah 9:11. And you split the sea before them, and they passed over into the midst of the sea on the dry land. And their pursuers you threw into the deep as a stone into the mighty waters. So that word as that we just read about comes from the word azaz, which is Strong's 5810. To be strong, to harden, impudent, prevail, or strengthen self. Judges 3:10. And the Ruach, that's his spirit of Yahweh, came upon him. Him is Othniel. And he ruled Yasharel and went out to battle. And Yahweh gave into his hand Kushan Rish Ayathayim, which means darkness of double wickedness. Sovereign of Aram, Naharayim, which means highland of two rivers. And his hand prevailed over Kushan Rish Athayim. Judges 6:2. And the hand of Midian, which is contention or striving, was strong against Yasharel, and before the faces of the Midianites the children of Yasharel made for themselves the refuges which are in the mountains, and in the caves and the strongholds. Isaiah 32. Who are walking down to go down to Mitzrayim, and have not asked my mouth to be strengthened in the strength of Pharaoh, the great house, and to seek refuge in the shadow of Mitzrayim. Daniel 11:12. And he shall capture the army, his heart being exalted, and he shall cause tens of thousands to fall but not prevail. Psalm 9:19. Arise, O Yahweh, do not let man prevail, let the Gentiles be judged before your face. Psalm 52:7. See the man who did not make Elohim his strength, but trusted in his many riches, being strong in his destruction. Psalm 68:28. Your Elohim has commanded your strength. Be strong, O Elohim. This you have worked out for us. Psalm 89:13. You have a mighty arm. Your hand is strong, your right hand exalted. Proverbs 7:13. And she took hold of him and kissed him. She hardened her face and said to him, chapter 8:28. When he established the clouds above, when he made the fountains of the deep strong. Proverbs 21:29. A false witness perishes, but the man who obeys speaks forever. Koheleth, Ecclesiastes 7:19. Wisdom makes the wise strong, more than 10 rulers that are in the city. Hakmah, which is wisdom, chapter 7, verse 17 through 21. For he has given me certain knowledge of that which exists, namely to know how the world was made, and the alterations of the turning of the sun, and the change of the seasons, the circuits of the years, and the position of the stars, the nature of the living creatures, and the raging of wild beasts, the violence of winds, and the reasonings of men, the diversities of plants, and the power of roots, and all that which is either secret or revealed, these I know. 2 Esdras chapter 14. Stick with me, I'm going to read the whole chapter. And it came to be on the 3rd day, I sat under a terebinth, and see, a voice came out of a bush opposite me and said, Ezra, Ezra. Now, Ezra means help, right? So it's help, help. And I said, Here I am, Adonai, Master. And I stood up on my feet. Then he said to me, I clearly revealed myself to Moshe in the bush and talked with him when my people were slaves in Mitzrayim. And I sent him and led my people out of Mitzrayim, and brought him to the mount of where I held him with me many days, and told him great wonders, and showed him the secrets of the times and the end, and commanded him, saying, These words you shall declare, and these you shall hide. And now I say to you, lay up in your heart the signs that I have shown, and the dreams that you have seen, and the interpretations which you have heard. For you shall be taken away from all, and from now on you shall remain with my being, my son, and with those who are like you, until the times are ended. For the world has lost its youth, and the times begin to grow old. For the world is divided into 12 parts, and 10 parts of it have gone already, and half of a 10th part. And there remains that which is after the half of the 10th part. Now therefore put your house in order, and reprove your people. Comfort those who are in distress, and now renounce that which is corrupt. Let go of your mortal thoughts, throw away the burdens of man, put off now the weak nature, and lay aside the thoughts that are most grievous to you, and hasten to flee from these times. For even greater evils than those which you have seen shall come to be after this. For see how much the world weakens through age. Therefore evil increases much more upon those who dwell in it. For truth has fled far away, and falsehood is close at hand. For the vision which you have seen now hastens to come. Then I answered and said, See, Adonai, I shall go as you have commanded me, and reprove the people who are present. But those who are born after, who shall admonish them? Thus the world lays in darkness, and those who dwell in it are without light. For your law has been burned, therefore no one knows that which is done by you, or the work that shall begin. But if I have found favor before you, send the Ruach HaKodesh, the set-apart spirit, into me, and I shall write all that has been done in the world since the beginning, which was written in your law, that men may find your way, and that those who live in the latter days may live. And he answered me, saying, Go your way, gather the people together, and say to them, not to seek you for 40 days, but see, prepare for yourself many writing tablets, and take with you Seraiah, Dabriah, Shelemiah, Ethan, and Asiel, these 5 who are able to write swiftly. And come here, and I shall light a lamp of understanding in your heart, which shall not be put out till that which you shall begin to write is complete. And when you are done, you shall publish some, and some you shall show secretly to the wise. Tomorrow at this hour you shall begin to write. Then I went out as he commanded, and gathered all the people together, and said, Hear these words, O Yasharel. At the beginning our fathers were sojourners in Mitzrayim, from where they were delivered, and received the law of everlasting life, which they did not guard, which you have also transgressed after them. Then the land, even the land of Sion, was divided among you by lot. But your fathers and you have done unrighteousness and have not guarded the ways which the Most High commanded you. And because he is a righteous judge, in due time he took you from that which he had given you. And now you are here, and your brothers are among you. Therefore, if you humble your own understanding and transform your hearts, you shall be kept alive, and after death you shall obtain kindness. For after death the judgment shall come, when we shall live again, and the names of the righteous shall be revealed, and the works of the wicked shall be declared. Therefore let no man come to me now, nor seek me for 40 days. So I took the 5 men, and he commanded, and we went to the field and remained there. And the next day a voice called to me, saying, Ezra, open your mouth and drink what I give you to drink. Then I opened my mouth, and see, he brought me a cup, which was full of water, but the color of it was like fire. And I took it and drank, and when I had drunk from it, my heart spoke with understanding, and wisdom grew in my breast for the remembrance, and my spirit was strengthened. And my mouth was open and no longer closed. And the Most High gave understanding to the 5 men, and they wrote the extraordinary night visions that were related, which they did not know. And they sat 40 days and wrote in the day, and they ate their bread at night. As for me, I spoke during the day and did not keep silent by night. In 40 days they wrote 204 books. And it came to be, when the 40 days were complete, that the Most High spoke, saying, The first that you have written publish openly, that the worthy and unworthy may read it. But guard the 70 last, that you may deliver them only to those who are wise among the people. For in them is the spring of understanding, the fountain of wisdom, and the river of knowledge. And I did so. So, Delilah in Greek, when we look at the Brit Hadashah, or the what we call the New Testament, in Greek, the word is Dalidah, which means timid, cowardice. It's Greek Strong's 1167. It's used once in 2 Timothy 1:7. Think over what I say, for the Adon, okay, the master, shall give you understanding into all of this. This word comes from the word delios, which is Strong's 1169, which means cowardly, fearful. Matith Yahu, okay, which means gift from Yahweh. Matthew 8:28. And when he, Yahushua our Messiah, came to the other side, to the country of the Girgashites, which is of Girgash, which means dwelling on clay, 2 demon-possessed ones met him, coming out of the tombs, very fierce, so that no one was able to pass that way. Mark 4:40. And he said to them, Why are you so afraid? Have you not yet believed? Hazan, Revelation 21:8. But as the cowardly and untrustworthy and abominable and murderers and those who whore and drug sorcerers and idolaters and all the false, their part is in the lake which burns with fire and sulfur, which is the second death. That word comes from the root word dios, which when I looked up that word, it's been changed to durbaios, which is Strong's 1190. And that means fear or reverence. So in Maaseh, Acts chapter 20, verse 4. And he was accompanied by Sopatroos, which means saved of the Father, of Beroi, which means pierce or pass through, and Aristarchos, which means superior or ruler, and Secundos, which means second, of the Thessalonians, and Gaius, which means Lord, of Derbe, which means tanner, and Timotheos, honoring Elohim, and Tukikos, which means by chance, and Trophimus, which means nutritious, of Asia. So we see the word Derbe, okay, and then that is from Strong's 1191, which Derbe is a town in Lycaonia, the southern part of a Roman province of Galatia. So in Acts 14:6, it says, They became aware of it and fled to Lystra, which is ransomed, and Derbe, which is tanner, cities of Lucaonia, wolfland, and the country round about. 16 verse 1. And he came to Derbe and Lystra, which is tanner and ransomed, and see, a certain Talmud was there, named Timotheos, which means honoring Elohim, the son of a certain Yahudi, which is a Jewish woman, who believed, but his father was a Yawanite, a Greek, or that can mean wine too. And then chapter 20, we go back again, and he was accompanied by Sopatros of Berio, Aristarchus, and Sucondos of the Thessalonians, and Gaius of Derbe, and Timotheos, and Tukikos, and Trophimus of Asia. Probably messed those names all up. So then I looked up Gaza or Aza in Greek, which is Strong's G 1048, and that is in Maaseh, which is Acts chapter 8 verse 26. But a messenger of Yahuwah spoke to Philippos, which we know is Philip, his name means a lover of horses, saying, arise and go toward the south along the way, which goes down from Jerusalem, which is teaching of peace, to Aza, which is the strong. This is desert. So he was to take the solitary way. Then Strong's 1047, Gaza, Acts 8:27, and he arose and went, and behold, a man of Cush, which means black or Ethiopian, a eunuch of great authority under Kandaki. Kandaki means prince of servants. So it says Kandaki, the sovereigness of the Cushites, so of the blackness, who had the charge of all her treasury and had come to Jerusalem to worship. So the southern border of the land of Yasharel between Rapha and Ascalon, 20 stadia. In Judges 16:21, it says, the Palestinites took him and put out his eyes. Okay, we're talking about Shimshon. Bound him with bronze shackles. So the ancient civilization was part of the Bronze Age because it either produced bronze by smelting its own copper and alloying it with tin, arsenic, or other metals, or traded other items for bronze from production elsewhere. Bronze was harder and more durable than other metals available at the time, allowing the Bronze Age civilizations to gain technological advantages. So learning that, I went to the scripture of Enoch, or Enoch. And there's a fallen one. And when I say these names, I am in no way paying them homage. I'm saying them from scripture, okay? There's a fallen one, Semyaza, also known as Azza. That's one of his names, who ranked as a leader of the watchers, who became consumed with lust for mortal women, and he went against Yahweh to consummate their desires. They had a secret society of 200 members that first met on Mount Hermon. Their dark alliances and oaths sworn under penalty of death binded themselves to treachery, whereby they would use their heaven-acquired knowledge to create a counterfeit religion on earth to satisfy their lust and carnal desires. So we're going to take a look at 1 Enoch chapter 6, verse 3 through 5. And Shemyatzah, who was their leader, said to them, I fear you will not indeed agree to this deed, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin. And they all answered him and said, let us all swear an oath and all bind ourselves by mutual curses not to abandon this plan, but to do this matter. Then they all swore together and bound themselves by mutual curses upon it. So we're going to take a look at Enoch 8, verse 1 through 2. And Azazel, Azazel, taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them, and bracelets and ornaments, and the use of antimony, and the adorning of the eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones, and all coloring tinctures. And there arose much wickednesses, and they committed whoring, and they were led astray, and became corrupt in all their ways. Shemyatzah taught enchantments and root cuttings. Ermeros, the resolving of enchantments. Barachiel, astrology. Kokabel, the constellations. Yekazel, the knowledge of the clouds. Erechiel, the signs of the earth. Shamsiel, the signs of the sun. And Sariel, the course of the moon. And as men perished, they cried, and their cry went up to the Shamayim. So now we're going to take a look at Enoch 86, 1 through 6. And again I saw with my eyes as I slept, and I saw the Shamayim above, and see, a star fell from the Shamayim, and it arose and ate and pastured among those oxen. And after that I saw the large and black oxen, and see, they all changed their stalls and pastures and their cattle, and began to live with each other. And again I saw the vision, and looked towards the Shamayim, and see, I saw many stars descend and to cast themselves down from the Shamayim to the first star. And they became bulls amongst those cattle, and pastured with them amongst them. And I looked at them, and saw, and see, they all let out their members like horses, and began to cover the cows of the oxen. And they became pregnant, and brought forth elephants, camels, and asses. And all the oxen feared them, and were frightened at them, and began to bite with their teeth, and to devour, and to gore with their horns. And they began also to devour those oxen, and see, all the children of the earth began to tremble and quake before them, and to flee from them. So it said that wisdom was possessed by Azazel, who taught the secrets of magic, weaponry, seductive ornamentation, and Enoch ate the root cuttings. So just a little from this study. The children of Yasharel did evil in the eyes of Yahweh. Shimshon, which was the Nazarite, he was a consecrated one. He was born consecrated. He goes after his own desires. He intermarries. The darkness overcomes him. He becomes weak. He lost his vision, his eyesight. He was in the dark, right? And the sin sacrifice represent by the plowing of the heifer. The statement he makes before they took him. Yahweh heard his cry and worked through him to defeat the Palestinites by putting him in the middle of their house, right? In the middle of the house columns, to the left and to the right. Their great house was brought down. They seen the strength of Yahweh, and they seen the light overcame the darkness. So I hope that you stuck with me through this whole video. Thank you. I'm going to put all the scripture in the description box of this video so that you can go back and study it for yourself. And I hope that you have a wonderful day. Shalom, shalom.